So what's the mission? Sometimes the founder has some really inspirational story about why they're starting the business, like we touched on Natera in the Sequoia episode, starting a company because his sister had a miscarriage and he couldn't believe that happened. That's obviously a very strong mission and a very strong reason to want to start a company. Not all the time they're that, inspirational and missionary, but sometimes they are. I don't think that's always necessary to have this super inspirational story. You don't have to be obsessed with B2B SaaS and have to make this new CRM platform, or you're never going to be happy with your life. I don't think anyone's that passionate about B2B SaaS. If they are, that'd just be kind of weird, but also I guess a massive signal to invest. I don't know, but when tackling these really hard problems, like we talked about earlier with these deep tech companies that a16z invests in frequently, there has to be a ferocity around the mission, because these problems are so hard that you have to be like Moses like with your mission to attract early employees to be just as crazy as you are to fight this mission. It's not just you fighting it. You got to bring other people along to fight that mission with you so you can scale. And so again, current partner Katherine Boyle describes her interpretation of ferocity around mission as follows. She says, quote, "The thing that I always look for is something that I call seriousness. I divide it as a unique combination of capability and will, where there's just a ferocity in the founder, that they're going to run through walls, that they're going to get it done, where it's not just an interesting story, but it's someone you just have 100% faith is just grinding and working ridiculously hard to move mountains. Oftentimes, the story that's being told has never been done before, and this is going to be incredibly difficult to do. So if you don't believe that the person has the capacity to not only do that for him or herself, but also has to be able to recruit extraordinary talent who are on board with that mission, no, that oftentimes will be impossible. The thing that often is lacking in founders who may want to take on these sort of noble missions is how serious are you about the mission, end quote. So hopefully I can see this in the founder's pitch. I should be able to see it in their eyes and hear it in their voices that they feel destined to complete the mission and cannot see a world without their company. And then if you can couple that passion for that mission with technical excellence, then you have a no-brainer investment. Those are the best kind of investments. Most founders know this and exude this energy. It's why they're crazy enough to start a company in their first place. There has to be some type of mission-driven aspect to it. But many founders may have not actually sat down to solidify what the mission is, which can be a really important aspect. And so I'm asking this question because it's easy for a founder to just be like, oh, it's like, we really want to solve this problem. It's this big problem. It's this crazy problem. We think we can do it, but they have to be a little more specific than that. I need to see if they've actually taken the time to hammer out, what this mission is. Current a16z partner, Martin Casado, explains why solidifying the mission early on is so important. He said, quote, "It's very important at some point in time to kick everybody out of the room, sit there for 3 days, and then write down the very lucid, very descriptive vision of the company, like why it matters and what you're doing in a way that you deeply believe that outlines the future and outlines the why together. And then you can use that to drive everything about the company, from recruiting to culture setting to early sales and marketing to speaking to analysts, etc. And so I do think that in the early stages is just a crucial exercise to do," end quote. And so I think the earlier you do this, the better. I understand time feels so precious and perfecting the product may feel way more important than, perfecting the mission and culture of the company and so on and so forth. But the product will change. The first product you release is going to look nothing like the last product you release. You release updates every month, maybe every few weeks, and completely new features or completely new designs at times. But what will likely never change is the mission of the company. And that mission is ingrained in the first employee you hire. So If you're flippy floppy with your mission, your early employees won't align with your late employees who have a different perception of what the mission is. Your early investors will have a different perspective with your later investors on the strategy of the company, based on the mission. Your early customers won't really feel like they align with the later mission if you change it. They won't really understand your company anymore. So there just has to be a clear image in everyone's mind who interacts with the company, employees, investors, customers, that they understand the company through just a simple 1 or 2 sentence mission statement. And that's clear from very early on. Now, ideally, the founders nailed this by the time I meet with him or her. Even if I'm the first investor, I want that to be nailed, that mission, because I think it's vital to solidify the culture, which is something you really don't want to be worrying about when you're trying to build and scale your company. So if the founder hasn't nailed this yet, no, it's not a deal breaker for me. But as soon as the meeting ends, I'd recommend the Martin Casado style of just sitting down for 3 days and just making that vision for the company crystal clear and ultra impactful. Document that in 1 or 2 sentences so you can send it out to every customer, every investor, every employee. Everyone sees it, understands what the company does, and can rally behind that mission if it's truly interesting to them.